Greetings, dear, precious, magnificent, beautiful spirit soul that you are. Beyond your story, you see. Take a nice deep breath. Yeah, I really acknowledge you. If you're listening to me, you must be really smart on where it's important. Not world knowledge. You got to have some. You got to know how it's operating. You see. Now, my topic, prosperity is an inside and outside job. Just like everything. It's realization and activation. You see, realization and activation. It's not what you know that's such a problem, but what you know that you think is true that really isn't. And when we're operating by all these false concepts, we really never get the results that we really desire, because just the way the construction of the false mind, you might want to call that the overlay, the illusion that we're what would you say, choosing to accept other than the true reality. Got a little hair in my eyes. Anyway, everything is inside and outside, because it's when you have your realization, your knowing, you then are expressing that. Just like I was reading in the Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 11, and I forgot which one of the chapters, but it's so really good. And because, see, I'm a spiritual researcher, a spiritual sleuth, and I'm always looking for clues. So I don't allow anybody to tell me that I can't read something, I can't look at it, I can't go there, and then they're going to tell me in Wikipedia or some other thing that's constructed and manufactured by whoever it is that wants. In fact, there was one researcher I liked for a while, and I started to notice his research was through Wikipedia. I mean, you can't do that. Real research, you actually have to go in. When I was in seminary, and I always thought my best teacher of the whole thing was Marcus Bach, and he was the uncle of Richard Bach, who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Marcus Bach was for spirituality and religion, like Joseph Campbell was for myth, because they immersed themselves in it and studied it, and to bring forth basically clues for us to regain ourselves, to take back our powers, to remember, bring ourselves all back together to right now where we are. And he said you have to really immerse yourself in whatever you're studying, and not be studying from those who studied before, who give you their translations, because everybody's got an agenda. Everybody's conspiring. Everybody's a conspirator. That's so weird when people say, oh, it's a conspiracy thing. But really, what do you know what the word means? To conspire, and aspire goes like this, right? It's a con, and a con, you could say, is a lie. The word con also means with in Espanol. It just depends. You look through the different languages, and you look through the etymology of all these words. And if you, like, I have a big dictionary like this, and I have the Oxford, but it's too little to look at. But anyway, you look at the etymology of the word, and you see how English was also manufactured, in a sense, from all these different languages to make it basically spell casting, and it's called spelling. And you write in cursive because you're cursing yourself with your own writings and words that have been given to you that you believe and say are true, so you manufacture them because you're a creator being, a creator God, and not the big deal God. I'm not saying that, but you have all the qualities of that according also to metaphysics and to the Essene teaching and also to the Vedic teaching. So you see that, and you also find it more native teachings are always, it's always basically, it's not about words in books that's important, because that's just stuff. But your body, you see, is the temple of the living God. And it also is demonstrating and how you're either serving the divine and goodness, or what you're doing is bringing disease upon yourself and upon your body and upon your mind and upon your life. and there is the natural way. And so when I talk about prosperity, prosperity means for you to go forth with enthusiasm and do what you want, and you always have enough to start, you see. Programming is such, no, you don't have enough, and you'll never have enough, and you'll never be good enough. I know I was listening to this relative of mine. Of course, we're all relatives, right? But we don't have to be relative, but we are relatives. But we are absolute, not the opposite of relativity. Who we are has no opposites. Opposites only exist in the duality reality, you see. So anyway, was basically again, complaining about, what everybody else is doing in the family and what they did, and going back to recall all that stuff. But that's over and done with. And how it still hangs on is because of the beliefs, the decisions that we've made in times of pain or suffering. Or, people look out and say, well, I watched this and this is this, so this is a law. And all those are printed in books and all of that. But when you live by the spirit of it, this is like Yeshua of the Essene great teacher taught, is that you don't live by the letter of the law. The Pharisees and the Sadducees, anybody who's making those laws, they don't follow them. They make them for you to follow. And I learned that in business because, being a career consultant and in my Grandmaster mentoring, that's when I work with people who want to take their products and their services and their talents and abilities to the greatest number of people available in the world that would be interested. And that also their lifestyle is also their work, and their work is their lifestyle, so that they create the most ideal living conditions for them to be able to fully recognize and realize and manifest who they really are, beyond the lack and limitation programming of most people, the birth, the death, all failure, success, all these kind of words that are just agitating people all the time. So basically prosperity then people link to only, say, coins and paper, or only gold and silver, or only gemstones, or only this or that. But the real wealth is what you have in yourself. And also the body, the divine body, the temple of the living God, is not an animal body. An animal body is different, and yet we have similarities and differences, and you have to know the difference, the distinction. And animals we cut from the same fabric as spirit souls, only serving a different function for whatever purpose that is. So prosperity, people think is just stuff, but it isn't. It's a sense and an absolute knowing of who you are. And when you let go of your poverty consciousness, all the training of scarcity, like that doesn't mean, see what happens when people believe in scarcity? They use it up really fast before it's all gone. That's what everybody does. There's not enough. Well, we better get ours. We better put all these trees under the water in the ocean so we can save it when nobody has trees. We'll make a lot of money then, and we can't wait until we get there. See, all this stuff is not prosperity. It's a poverty, lack consciousness of complete ignorance of who the person really is as a divine being. And when you know that prosperity is both an inside and an outside job, it's also about you offering and giving your gifts, you see. And those gifts have to do with a product or a service or whatever you may, these are, it's either a solid thing or it's that which is not solid but makes that solid is our consciousness, you see, and how we feel. And when you hear people always talking in poverty, this is never working, I never have enough, nobody likes me, they owed me this and they never paid me, and they went on and on. I remember years ago when my children's father owed me back child support for a long time. It was very little, a couple $100 a month in those days and years. And I never asked for alimony, did anything. I would do my own thing. But anyway, after a few months of that, quite a couple of years, whatever, he would never give. But he could tell me all the time what a loser I was and how ugly I was and nasty. It goes on and on. It took me 2 or 3 weeks to recover, I'm telling you, because look at how those words hit you. And that's so against who you really are. And to allow anybody to do that, or to even do that to another person, is such a crime. Because the greatest gift you can give another is to recognize and realize who they really are, you see. And at the same time have discernment. That's what my book, Just Prospering Choice, is about, is you have to have discernment, because it's written for people who always want to find the good in people, but lack discernment. So you hook up with people who are going to take you down, have you forget who you are, rob you of your vital energy because you're giving it away, you see. Because you think, well, see, I've got them when I'm working on, you don't, I'll give a talk on this one, so I'm not going to tell you the title right now, but I'll do that later. But how much we try and make ourselves less than who we are so somebody else can feel better and be more. No. What happens if we're all who we are? Oh, there's not enough left then because there wouldn't be any more, and then the competition. Stop. That's the mind. You see, that's not you. You have to take control of that mind. And this whole prosperity is investment in yourself. I've invested hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars, if it costs US dollar, whatever you want to call it, in my consciousness. And visiting all the temples and holy places in the world, and living in India for 4 years, and studying with masters and magnificent, people. And I took care of cows in the Gaushal and shoveling cow manure and taking care of babies. It was fabulous. I loved that, and being there. And all the seminars I've taken, all the teachers I've learned from, all the libraries of books that I've read completely through on every kind of possible thing that interested me, to realize all things are possible to us. And each one going, is that it? Is that it? Because we know what we're looking for. There's something in there. And then when you find it. And then when you find it, that's the beginning, you see. Not a beginning that ever has an end. And when you're in the box of this mental reality of poverty, lack, limitation, and, Yeshua never said, this is somebody, they monkey around with stuff, the Essene. It's like, the poor will always be with you. The poor, that's a lie. We're all wealthy already. So, I must have said I wanted to be born rich, because that was my maiden name, Terry Nan Rich. Is that great? And but I think God had a sense of humor, because it's about giving our gifts, you see. And you see so many people who are basically trust funders, who they have an allotted amount of money, or they get this a little bit because they live on a fixed income. Well, who fixed it? You did, in your own mind. And it isn't about how much money can I have to have all this crap and stuff that I don't even need or want, but everybody else has, and I want to look good and I want to be cool and blah. Use your resources as fertilizer. See, I'm a gardener. This is getting ready now. I got to make my soil. It's always in the roots. Always in the roots. And that's why we want to be, I started yesterday, a little cold up here today, but we're running around barefooted now. Got barefooted out there, getting myself back rooted in the divine prosperity of Mother Earth, you see. So, prosperity is an inside and an outside job. You have to do your work to develop that prosperity consciousness. That's my work, to work with you to be who you are through my consultations, Grandmaster mentoring. I'm not calling my work up here retreats anymore, because retreat means you're running away. You're not running away from anybody or anything, you see. It's basically an empowerment and spiritual healing and enrichment, you see. What would you call it? Adventure in nature, you say, because we're surrounded by nature, where you'll come back to who you really are, and then be able to clear those blockages and those obstacles by learning, first of all, the philosophy of the self-liberation and the self-empowerment of ultimate prosperity. So that's true. That's who we are. And the body, too, is like, you want a prospering, healthy, vital, physical body full of energy and life force. You see? It's all possible now. So, hey, please share this with others they'll think will help them. Put it to practice in your own life. Email me in any way, see how I can be serving you or supporting you. I have suggested donations, but I never turn anybody away for lack of funds, but you always have to give something, because giving, you see, is part of receiving. And the real prosperity is the receiving and the giving and the giving and the receiving. And then we're in the divine flow of ultimate divine circulation. And abundance and opulence is our nature. Yeah.